loves, welcome back to the Film Alchemist podcast, the show where we take the movies we love, break them apart to find out what gives them their magic. Halloween magic, October horror mega marathon, Abyss magic. We're back, day 2, not slogging through, I still like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. So guys, you have Texas Chainsaw 1 and 2 right behind this in the feed. This is the thing. October, we do 31 pods in 31 days. Every day in October, you get a podcast from us, from me.
Aren't you lucky?
And from my friend who thinks the Saw is family, my co-host,
Alex Dandino.
That's right. So we're here, the October Mega Marathon, our favorite time of the year. So excited. Hope you guys are excited. Don't silence us because you're going to get a fucking ton of notifications from us about episodes. Guys, if you want every 31 episodes before we dive in here, patreon.com/filmalchemistpod. Our patrons selected 2 Patreon exclusive episodes, and there will be a commentary over on patreon.com/filmalchemistpod. It really means a lot to us, guys. It's the best way to help us grow this show, to help support what we're doing, keep the lights on. So if you could be kind enough, especially this month, patreon.com/Film Alchemist Pod. That's the best way to do it. The YouTube Film Alchemist, the email filmalchemistpod@gmail.com. We're on all the socials. Make sure you leave 5-star ratings and reviews everywhere you find podcasts. And more importantly, guys, as we start, we're in the October season, the Halloween season. We're all in the mood. We're all visiting Spirit Halloween, picking out costumes, buying candy. We're all jacked up on sugar. Not me, I'd die. I bet us. But make sure you send this show, one of these shows, to a horror-loving friend. You have a friend who loves Texas Chainsaw, do that. You have a friend who just loves horror movies, period, do that. Send them a message. Let them know what we're doing. We'll take it from there.
You have a friend who's mixed up sexual gratification with chainsaws. Let him listen to this show.
That's right.
Then take him to a hospital, please. That'd be good.
That's right. So here we are today. We're working our way through the Texas Chainsaw Massacre entire franchise. We don't skip entries. Every single one. Today we are on Leatherface, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre
Texas
Part 3.
Chainsaw Massacre 3. 1, 2, 3.
This has one of my favorite teaser trailers of all time. I don't know if you watched that, but it's the Leatherface. It's like some stories fade from time, and it's Leatherface. You don't know it's him. It just looks like a guy. Like it could be like Legend of the Falls, right? He's just standing in a pond, and then all of a sudden the lady in the water, right, like the Arthurian legend, raises the saw, his family saw, up and flicks it at him, and he catches it, and a lightning bolt hits the saw, and it's like, and it's awesome. Like back when teaser trailers were just like an awesome, cool thing, and they didn't have to just be the whole movie in 40 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
Love it. We did such an odd detour to the fucking Roger Rabbit town in Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. Toonville. Toons. If you're a guy who watched that movie and said, fucking tunes. We're bringing it back, right? We decided Texas Chainsaw 3, we're going to bring it back. It exists in this for the most part, it exists in this kind of fun area, right? This is the first Texas Chainsaw we've seen that it kind of has a more polished production look, right? This looks like a more polished traditional horror film than the previous 2 entries we've seen. I think immediately you see that the cast is dramatically better in this one. And again, not to disparage Bill Moseley, but he was asked to do something very weird. Dennis Hopper, you don't fucking direct or control that, man. You try to point the tornado at what you want destroyed.
He's like the Hulk. You just aim it.
Just aim it, yeah. This is the first time where you see kind of a more complete cast.
Right,
giving more complete traditional performances, right? There are some beats and some adding to the mythology. We're kind of bringing it back to a more mainstream horror film, right?
Right.
And I think this one is a pretty effective entry in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I would say this one never has a high per se. The Saw is kind of the big star of this one, and young Viggo Mortensen, right?
And
when
Aragorn.
He was in his he was in his fucking, rebellious teenage years before he had to go help save the realm of men and take over the family business.
Right.
Now he's just like, call me Tex, not Aragorn.
Not Strider or Aragorn, call me Tex.
Yeah, we know the men on the Flatlands call you Strider. No, it's Tex.
Tex.
But yeah, it's a more traditional horror film, right? You get it's fucking tight. It's fast. You get Ken Faree, a little becoming kind of an elder statesman of the horror genre at this point. Everyone loves him. It's a rock solid movie from start to finish. That's what I would say. It's reheated pizza, man. It's not exceptional, but it's pretty fucking good, man. And I do like what they do. We kind of start off, they do this thing now where it's like, now we have this almost echoey, ethereal voiceover for this one. It sounds a little bit like Ramirez in Highlander. Through the ages. We find out that Sally from part 1 has died.
Mm-hmm.
That the patriarch of the Sawyer family was put to death in a gas chamber.
Yep.
The thing they add in this movie, and I want your opinion on this because I thought this was a big fucking miss in the movie. The thing they added in the credits is almost just like an excuse for why they were never caught, rather than an interesting thing to examine. The theory became, as they heard these ghastly tales of Leatherface from Sally and the testimonies and the trials and the evidence,
right,
that they assumed that W.E. Sawyer was also Leatherface, that this family of cannibals who had been left in this derelict part of America, right, that when they got a craving, when they needed some fixins to eat,
right,
that they themselves created an alternate character, Leatherface, that allowed them to do this. So I imagined, because it had been a long time since I'd seen this one, I was like, this is going to be a part of the movie. And in my mind, I was kind of like racking back. I was like, is it? Maybe I missed something. It's not. It's not a part of the movie at all. What did you think of this kind of opening setting? We're going to Leatherface could be an infection of mine. Everyone could be Leatherface. It's kind of the evil Stan Lee. Why do people like Spider-Man? They can imagine themselves in the mask. Why do people like Leatherface? They can imagine themselves in their neighbor's face. Oh, that's not as inspirational.
I liked the idea that it was going to be like, oh, anyone could be Leatherface. Like anybody could put on the face of another person and become Leatherface. Yeah, sort of a missed opportunity to make. It felt
missed.
You know what it is? I think it's the missed opportunity that we find with other horror franchises, because Michael Myers is one of those things, like, we know it's Michael Myers, but anyone could go a little nuts, like Anthony Perkins once said, you know? Like, there's all these...
Ghostface. Anyone can go a little nuts, put the mask on, and grow 1 foot tall and gain super
Anyone can become a Cenobite, you know? Like, it's just one of those things where those chosen few... like, I think that's the thing. It's a missed opportunity because it does make... It means Leatherface is just one person. It means that it's not this,
one aging person with joint pain, which we all recognize.
Which we find out very quickly is pretty rough.
Probably the most relatable Leatherface has ever been. Is he's like,
I was going to say, like,
he
this
Leatherface.
This guy's Leatherfaceness, I was like, this guy gets it. I understand this.
This guy is
I'm
me.
with this.
Yeah, I am Leatherface. They weren't kidding.
The note I wrote was Leatherface with a half-torn ACL walks around. Like, it was just...
Leatherface hears his fucking squeaky knee brace, and he's like, I'm not the man I once was. I don't even know if I'm a prime cut anymore. And he's like, same.
Leatherface Leatherface with a persistent basketball injury.
Yeah. Leatherface, who's been running, doing a manual labor job. You know, he's carried a little extra weight, because who's got time to hit Planet Fitness all the time? And I was like, my God, this is the most American tale. Like, I'm so in.
Leatherface, in his 10th season as a linebacker for the New York Jets, finally is facing age. I was like doing like a Hard Knocks thing while watching him.
It's like a real sports guy. It's like, well, they didn't have insurance for us back then. He's like drooling everywhere. The thing is, you can see, though, because they go from that voiceover into an opening, like, we do the hammer swing. He's dragging people in, right? They're kind of recreating these moments we like. I actually love in the opening montage that we see him crafting a mask.
I liked that a lot, too.
Scissors, cool. Sewing. So it makes it's methodical. It's not this... The first Leatherface we see in the franchise is such a fucking primal force of nature, right? Yeah. This is showing that they're taking a pause to reflect upon the psychological nature of why the mask, right? Showing him lovingly crafting it while one of his victims, we don't learn till way later in the movie, kind of watches and upsets him. But what I think this movie did, and why I think they miss an opportunity like we're all Leatherface, something that could have been interesting.
Yeah.
This movie, you can clearly tell, had one specific mandate. Put the Texas Chainsaw Massacre back on human turf,
Mm-hmm.
Give us a fucking real world kind of pad with which we could build a continuing franchise. We cannot build a continuing franchise off of Texas Chainsaw 2. I think you could have, but clearly that is not what they wanted to do anymore. They wanted to get back to basics in this one. And I think that concept of back to basics permeates most of the film. And again, not for worse. It just and it's funny because the movie they cash in on, like, well, we built the basic foundation of a franchise. What happens in part 4? Oh, now we're doing like a fucking more horrifying version of part 2, like a repulsive version of part 2.
Yeah.
So they didn't even use it. But again, I don't think there's anything wrong with that, right? These people driving through Texas. There's mass graves. There's beautiful moments where, like, you know, the guys in the white suits are crawling through these slimy graves.
Yeah.
We get back to the gas station in the middle of nowhere. My boyfriend's not that tough. We're exposed out here, right? So they do a good job of resetting us into what is truly scary about Texas Chainsaw. Is that in the, as we always consider it, the greatest country in the world, the safest, the best, the strongest, the most free. All you have to do is, if you look around and don't see anyone who's going to save your ass, you're vulnerable. We're back in nature.
Yeah, that's it.
Right?
I mean,
Texas Chainsaw Massacre operates as a Lord of the Flies story.
Yeah, I mean, I think what's great about Texas Chainsaw Massacre is it lives in that wide open, like, free-range Texas that is very scary when it gets dark out. Like, if you've ever driven through those areas of the world, like I said when we talked about, like I said yesterday, like, if you've ever driven those areas of the world, like, it is scary. Like, it's quiet, it's dark, and you have no idea what's out there. So, like, to be honest,
when you hear a sound, you're like, why?
To be honest with you, like, when you see headlights, like, when I've driven those kinds of, like, roads, and this happens anywhere. Is it Ohio, Indiana, like, Michigan, whatever.
Country.
Yeah. When you drive those kinds of roads and you see another car, you're like, this could be it. This is it right here. Someone might just crash into my car, and I might this could be a crazy.
This is Joyride. This is Jeepers Creepers. This is Texas Chainsaw. Like,
1,000%.
This is Duel. I'm in big trouble.
That's why. That's what makes Texas Chainsaw Massacre effective, and I think that's what the missed opportunity is. Though, is like the mythos of Leatherface. It doesn't transcend the way that we have like these other horror icons transcend, because they don't take that opportunity to be like, oh, it could be any Leatherface. Maybe there's multiple Leatherface. Maybe there's a cult of Leatherface. A
Leatherface that's 5'6" or slender build like Viggo Mortensen, that's not going to work. You got to have a big fucking hoss.
Yeah, you got to have a big fella. You got to have a cane.
You got to have a guy who looks like he polishes off like a whole tray of ribs.
Yeah.
Right? You can't have like oh, sorry, I used up my carb allotments for the day, Leatherface. Like, that's not gonna.
You can't have a lean meat only Leatherface. You got to have a guy.
You can have a string bean Michael Myers because he's supernaturally fueled. Right. Jason being gigantic is kind of built into the cake, but he also is supernaturally fueled. Right. Like, Leatherface exists in this weird place because if you think of the great horror icons, he's the only one that always has to be present and always is of the flesh, right? Ghostface is usually multiple children all at once, right?
Right.
So it's very different, right? And he doesn't follow the rules of reality as far as size and shape and physical abilities. Leatherface is kind of always out there. Even with the mask on hiding him, there is a humanity to him that a lot of these monsters don't have. And so I thought the idea of seeing him age is interesting. By the time you get to part 4, we are playing with this idea now that, like, oh, these are not the same Leatherfaces.
Right.
Or you're playing with, like, this one even has an interesting kind of built-in problem. Not even a problem, right? The first one, it seems like, right, there's a family. The second one, all right, that's the creepy uncle who's now taking him in with the creepy cousin, right?
Right.
This one, we still have Grandpa jumping from house to house. And we still have Leatherface jumping from family to family. Who the fuck are these people? We meet Leatherface's mom, right? Leatherface's mom. Okay, and she was married to Grandpa, but looks about 60 years younger than the corpse, which, you know, that happens to corpse. You age fast. You're not doing your moisturizers anymore.
I don't know about
but
you.
Is this still the Sawyer family, or is this another family who has created another Leatherface? Is this the same guy?
I thought about this, and I was thinking, do you think this is a little thing where, like, maybe like in Fight Club when the fuckers setting up franchises, do you think the patriarch just went from like maybe town to town in Texas, like setting up his own,
spilling blood and spilling seed.
Yeah, like setting up his
he
own.
Was Johnny
Sawyers.
Appleseeding his way around Texas,
setting up his own Sawyers,
growing
in every
these
little
fucking
like
giant
pocket of
oaks
the
that
pocket of the
will
state.
Could be.
Not outside
slanging.
the realm of possibility. Just dick slanging. Like, oh my God, Sawyer, you are so handsome.
Yeah. I mean, my own kids were so beautiful. I thought about franchising, and my wife said no. Apparently, we don't need security and money for the future. Kids, I hope you hear this someday.
Absolutely.
When you're living in your dystopian future, it's fine. It's fine. I think it would have been a great business. Just a bunch of fucking beautiful, curly-headed diabetics running around in the apocalypse.
I'm gonna win.
People.
Oh no! I need a bar. I need a candy bar.
I just make a
please.
bunch of fucking derelict savage children that don't really like chainsaw people. They more just kind of dress them down from afar. Like, not a fan of what they're doing.
That's the real Chainsaw Massacre right there.
Right, but that's the question, right? Is this because it's always telling us that Leatherface and Grandpa are the thing, but every film we reset the whole family. And I think this is more of a function of trying to separate from part 2.
Okay.
Pretend that's not a thing. So you could imagine Leatherface and Grandpa coming from the family at part 1. Maybe mom left the family, but he has 2 brothers.
Right.
Or cousins. They call him Junior. That's Leatherface's Junior.
Right.
So that's no longer Grandpa on the chair. Maybe it is. Some of that stuff I wasn't real clear with and how they talked. But, that explains why he wears the ties and stuff. He's looking like the old desiccated corpse that was the one-hitter, right? Okay. Now, here's another thing. Another familial interesting thing. Is that Leatherface's daughter? Is that Uncle Leatherface or Daddy Leatherface?
I'm going to go Uncle.
I
really don't want to think about Leatherface.
Well, as we heard from Mom, Leatherface knows what to do with them private parts.
I thought it
he
was
knows
like
how
about,
to work.
I thought it was about giving hysterectomies, but perhaps that's.
I think so too, but also it's like when you see the little girl, you're like, is that how they're franchising out Sawyers?
I mean,
I'm just saying, it seems like we're seeing the fully vertically integrated flesh trade that this family has.
I'll say this: like the entire family. Viggo Mortensen's the only one who probably could lay pipe and like create a normal looking child like that. So, to be fair,
I don't know. I think we have a Victor Doom scenario here. That maybe Leatherface is perfectly handsome and in a Mr. Incredible kind of way under there, but he's psychologically scarred.
I see. So you're saying like he takes that thing
no
off and
real
he's John
deformity.
Hamm? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he is. John Uncured Ham. Just straight out the bone. No, that's much. That's a lot. I think it had Leatherface's daddy vibes. And that he's the one that they let run the unsanctioned procreation business.
Mm-hmm.
Because he is the glorious progeny of the slaughterhouse machine that the grandpa was.
Right.
It is kind of because they breed this beautiful man, right? Because the other 2 brothers are both handsome in their own way. But Viggo Mortensen is exceptionally so.
Very much
that
so.
girl at the start, she is definitely fantasizing about trading up.
Oh, yeah.
She's like, hey, Tex, we can't drive you anywhere. She's like, well, maybe let's talk about it. You're like, oh, no,
dude,
that's
she
a bad
wants it.
sign.
Yeah.
That's a bad sign.
Absolutely.
Yeah, she wants a ride on the Marlboro Man, dude. It's over. She'll call him Tex.
I mean,
she'll call a little guy the Lone Star, whatever she wants.
This movie really also has this, like, and again, it beckons back to the first one, like so many pot shots, like, oh, California. These guys are from California. I never had a California girl before. There's so many of these, like, and
that
like,
guy is
it's
lost
like code
from
for
the last 2 movies. He's so annoying.
It's like code for hippie. Like that's like you usually like I like that's like kind of making its way back in. You're just like, oh, hippies.
So we don't like the cannibalism, the murders, the possible sexual assaults, but what the Sawyers got right was a fucking anti-hippie straight.
Boo to the hippies.
Blue.
Boo.
That's true blue America, right?
Like they'd just be sitting there, like, let's say the Sawyers got caught and they'd all be standing trying to be like, well, we eat people. I'm like, that's not great. I'll say the one thing.
One juror to agree with us that we need less hippies.
However,
you didn't eat people. We ate hippies. I rest my case.
Does anybody want hippies around? All right, I guess acquitted on all charges. I don't know.
Is it a person if it doesn't use soap? I rest my case. And they're like, God damn it. Texas Johnny Cochran just might have won this motherfucker.
I mean, that's a fucking movie right there. That's the trial of Leatherface.
Yeah.
You'd be acquitted in 5 seconds.
Do you really think these people would eat meat covered and soaked in patchouli? I rest my case. It's a fraud. No,
it's a fraud.
But it is, the movie asks us, right? Who's this family? How are they connected to the other incident? Because the opening title specifically tells us that W.E. Sawyer was put to death for the crimes of this, and that he somehow helped cover up Leatherface's escape. Right? So this is somewhere a part of the family. This branch of the family is putting out fucking genetic gold, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, they might as well, don't call me Tex, because I think his actual character name is Honey Dick. You know what I mean? Like, he's honeypotting the shit out of these people to come fucking to the Sawyer house, right? Even the other brother in like I met him in a bar, right? Like, he looks like he was a bad guy, like a bad trouble guy, but like,
right.
Maybe for a night.
Quality.
Like, he's a handsome guy. The little girl is adorable. Like, this Sawyer family.
Little girl's adorable until you realize she's playing with a I can't.
That's definitely a human head on Sally.
Definitely a human head on the Sally doll, right?
The doll's named Sally, right? The
yes.
victim from who escaped part 1 and
yes.
died. And that's definitely the head that would be like.
It almost looks like a child's head,
size.
if I'm being honest with you. Like,
it's a pretty grotesque little detail
gross.
That they. And she has a little bone that she stabs people with.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying her behavior's cute.
Sure.
She's not like an Olsen twin, right?
I'm not saying the Child Protective Services won't be called. I'm saying that she looks cute.
She looks.
I get it. I hear you. I understand.
And Leatherface tells her to like brush her teeth and shit. Like, you know, he's trying his best. It's hard to be a dad. You got to juggle work and vertically integrated meat trades and, you know, parenting. It's hard. It's a lot. It's a lot. This one is the first one where you start asking those questions about the family, right? The basis of these stories. Mm-hmm. And it seems like they're saying, don't really look at that. Just look at Leatherface and Grandpa and know it's the same. All right. And honestly, I don't think it matters a lot, right? Because what we do is we do this weird gas station where a traditional Texas Chainsaw character is the insanely fucking annoying side character.
Right, yeah.
Who only exists to fucking repulse us, right? Where he's like jamming the gas thing in the back of the car. Oh, I'll fucking gas you up real good, you bitch. How dare you not recognize my powers as a man? It's like, right, I watch Andrew Tate on Facebook.
That was like, I was just like, good God, dude.
Ugh. But that's what I mean. He exists only to be that guy. Tex blocks him. He runs and fucking looks in his people. We know immediately that Tex is in on it. We don't believe for a second that Tex is not in on it.
No.
Right? And so this is the setup, right?
As soon as he flashes that toothy grin.
Yeah, this is a new addition that this one asks us. The meat truck. Leather truck.
Mm-hmm.
Now we're decorating trucks in fucking, you know, we're branding. We're branching out.
We're branding our skin vehicles. Yeah.
It's like a guy who's a tattoo artist and he's like, you know what? I need to get a wrap on my car so that everyone knows what I do. That as I'm driving about, people will just have my cell phone number and then call me, right?
Yeah.
So we got a Leatherface branded truck, which is pretty fucking cool. I actually kind of like the truck. So it gets off a little shaky, right? Like, it doesn't have a narrative that's not a narrative.
I don't think it has a
propulsion,
narrative at all. It just sort of happens, which is fine. It's not the end of the world. Like, I don't give
it's
a
kind
shit.
of these Texas Chainsaw vignettes, right? It's not a massacre. It's vignettes.
Yeah.
Right?
It's the
so we do the gas station, and then we go to the house, and then all of a sudden you hear and it's Leatherface walking up. You know, I mean, he hasn't had his time to fucking stretch out.
Leatherface is dealing with his persistent ACL injury. It's fine.
Yeah. No, I mean, if we didn't get the metaphor of the face hiding the Sawyers and their monstrous acts from America by pretending to be us, if you didn't really get that wolf in sheep's clothing metaphor, we're going to fucking hammer it to death until now it's just fucking truck nuts and we don't care. Yeah. They probably have actual truck nuts, so it's a little cooler. But
I mean, that seems a little ostentatious for the meat eater people, but, you know, that's fine.
Right, but we get, you know, their tire blows out, and then all of a sudden you hear the, and you're like, oh, okay, we're in a Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It's
Can I-
a traditional massacre.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
We haven't brought up Benny yet, because, and you know, I in terms of car flippage, like there's like 3 cars that flip in this entire, like a lot of car
flipping cars.
a lot of flipping of the cars.
Yeah.
I don't listen. I've lived in Texas. However, I've never met a Texan that
I forgot you're a true Texan. Yeah.
I've never met anyone in Texas who doesn't have their gun ready to go, and that was a very fascinating.
Oh
thing.
yeah.
Like,
You never been to Austin?
I mean, Austin is like, there's like one street in Austin that definitely doesn't have anyone packing, and then like the rest of it's just like
I would
normal
argue
Texas.
Austin is like 50% boba, 50%
Yeah,
AR-15.
absolutely. No. It's split.
I'm saying it's a more level ratio in Austin. I don't think
Austin is like, well, we talk about this a lot. Like Austin is like it's like the sane town.
that's the town
in a
that grows
state
the
of
people
crazy
that Leatherface
Yeah.
will fucking harvest.
Austin is like, yeah, like if you were ever gonna do like a Jason Takes Manhattan version of Texas Chainsaw, the poster would be Leatherface standing on top of a hill overlooking like downtown Austin. He's like,
He just looks down and he's like, wait a sec. He's like, look at all these men wearing beanies in 120 degree
Birkenstocks,
heat.
hippies.
Look at all these women with armpit hair. And he's like,
Just blind rage and there's
that gurgling
and then that's it.
chainsaw. He's like, oh God, I'm ready. He looks like someone on a fucking Jerry Springer segment.
Right.
Oh yeah. Oh, yeah. See, that's what he's imagined.
But
I am not the father. Oh,
again,
yeah.
Benny having to
Maury.
load his gun while he's about to get run over by that
Well, also it's like, dude, he's got him in like a weird
the one-handed truck.
Yeah, he's got like an extra box. Although I did roll over, but I was like, come on, man, you got to be
Like,
and
dude.
he's like, 15 seconds.
Give me 15 seconds to pack. I'm like, dude,
Sorry,
how are
I'm
you?
grabbing my egg salad sandwich. My wife weighed extra. Do you want some? Like, he's not even trying to sell
No,
it
no,
at all.
he's
just
literally
like,
just-
he's
I'm like,
hiding behind
bro,
the truck. Yeah, he's clearly
come on.
getting a gun.
You're not packing.
That scene was shot so poorly. I had no idea until he's like, hey, there's another truck, that our 2 main characters had even been in a car accident.
Had no idea.
Like, it was so
Okay.
poorly shot because Viggo Mortensen came out and he's like, ah! And I thought it was just,
So he helps. So Benny helps them out of the car. I
thought it was, yeah.
Tell me if you think that, because this is another thing I saw.
Yeah,
When
moving
Benny-
people after possible spine trauma, that's a great idea.
So Benny helps them out of the car, and then Benny's whole like shenanigans with the gun, and then it cuts back to Kate. Kate's her name, right? And then
Maybe.
you know the Berkeley College grad, and they're like, "What are we gonna do?" And they lay down, and it's like 5 seconds of a shot where they're just like, "I'm like, was that the original scene?" And then they cut Benny in, or what's going on? Like, it was very. I was like, I don't care. Like,
This
Texas
movie
Chainsaw Massacre.
definitely
I'm not here
needed
to.
a hot Benny injection, no doubt about it.
Well, it's just one of those things where I'm like, it's Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I don't need, a lot of script supervision here. Just put it down. It's fine.
No, it gets clunky because again, we do like our kind of like our joyride segment. Now we're doing kind of a running through the woods segment, right? Like
It's
these
a little
things
rough.
that
It's a
harken
little
back
rough.
to part 1.
Yeah.
But again, what we're looking at is not like, honestly, it's so funny that the movie just makes the choice, hey, what if we give our main character sleeping pills and no one gives a shit? Like, just no one cares that the 2 main characters are like, I'm pretty drowsy. And it's like, oh, yeah, because we have a better character now in Benny and this fucking savage woman who has been surviving out here for a week, but still has a pack of Lucky Strikes and a Zippo. I was like, if you're surviving Leatherface, staying close to the hut, and you're not ripping darts constantly, like, there's a level of fortitude to her that she deserved a better death. But yeah, because Benny gets fucking jumped by Leatherface, and they have a real throwdown, right?
Yeah.
It's funny because Ken Farid did this with Leatherface and Michael Myers in the Rob Zombie one, right?
Right.
And so he's a guy you call in to fucking be an equal opponent. You know how, like, the $6 Million Man, they had to have Sasquatch fight him because he's so tough?
Yeah. I'm going to
Ken
tell you
Farid's
right
the
now.
guy you call in to fight your fucking whore icon.
I'm going to tell you right now, after the opener where the lab techs are digging up the mass grave and they're trying to be like, don't get any of that stuff on you. Blood poisoning and like gas gangrene, whatever the fuck that is. As soon as Kate and Benny wound up in the water, be like, I would just fucking kill myself right there. Because in 5 days, everything is just going to be melting off your body. I'm like, no.
They're for sure dying a horrible Renaissance-style death before you
both
know
of them are just going to be like, you have some new kind of plague. You're dead. I don't know what to tell you.
They're going to look like the guy who gets hit in acid in RoboCop just trying to run into freeway traffic.
And then they're going to get hit by a car and just explode into a million pieces.
It's just going to into little Texas flags that float down to the ground. Yeah.
Except Benny, who's going to burst into tiny chainsaws.
Yeah. You just got Texas. Dude, when he's fighting Leatherface and winning, he's kind of whooping his ass, and he pulls out that little fucking buzzsaw. And fucking hits his, like, it hits his hamstring. He's like, ah!
I loved that so much, man.
That was awesome.
That's my favorite. Like, tiny chainsaws, yeah.
Yeah. He's like, well, I have a brand to keep up. What did you make of Leatherface in this movie? I like this Leatherface.
I mean, besides what we've already said, yeah, I like this Leatherface a lot. Like, it's a little more.
We can just take this off the table, right? The first Texas Chainsaw Massacre obliterates the others by such a wide margin and is better in every aspect, right? The only argument I'll hear is that the Leatherface in the reboot was a little more physical.
Yeah.
And a little bigger and a little more on screen, so that, like, if that's
I think
your
the Leatherface
vibe,
in the reboot is the Leatherface in the reboot's a little more menacing rather than just like shock value. And this, but I like this Leatherface because it's gonna sound.
I like this guy.
This is gonna sound ridiculous for a fucking Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie, but like, I like the pathos we have with this Leatherface. Like, he has these like quiet, somber moments. He's doing the speaking spell. Food.
Yeah, food with the clown. I like when he's like laying his head on Mama.
Come on, man. What's
they
not to
add
like?
that this one, he has a Walkman, and I was like, "What's Leatherface jamming?"
Yeah, he's like,
right. We eventually get some like bad metal music in the fucking leather truck, but I was like, "What's he rocking?" Right? Yeah. Like, I love the idea that he's just like, I'm actually really big into the Cure pornography. It's not their most radio friendly, but the soundscapes.
I loved. I like his whole like Star-Lord thing where he's like, can't squish, but can't burn my Walkman.
Yeah. I'm just really into the talking heads. I know it's a little on the nose for me.
Okay. What would have been like, okay, it's like, what is this is 95? Whatever. I can't remember what year this movie came out, but like, that's the one I was thinking like, what would have been the most like shocking thing for like the music to be put the headphones back?
I know
like,
everyone's just into Nirvana now, but Mudhoney is really where we have to start the conversation. I mean, Jesus, eh?
Just like I was thinking about, I was like, you know what would be great is if it was just like Soundgarden, like in my eyes. Just you're like, oh shit.
He's like, I just liked REM before they got consumed by radio culture. You know, like that's where I was at. I thought REM was going to become our next Simon and Garfunkel.
Yeah,
G-Funk.
This Leatherface is definitely like a Pitchfork guy. That's nice. I like this a lot.
I mean, I'll give it a 3 against my better judgment because there was a level of catharsis in the album.
All right, I got to go to work.
Am I the only one that feels Metallica's like Samson when they cut the hair off? I mean, I don't know.
I mean, load, sure, but reload, come on.
Who knew the lightning they would ride would be a sheer size 2 at a barbershop? This is ridiculous. I just like snooty hipster Leatherface.
I really want that. See, that's worth watching right there. Is like Leatherface giving Pitchfork reviews. Fleet Foxes isn't my favorite. I'm not going to lie.
I mean, Kurt Cobain gets all of the chart acclaim, while Nick Cave's just out here creating the only real music in culture. All right, that's enough. We won't do this all day. We definitely could do this joke all day.
I could go 10 rounds for sure. But I do like. But
I like watching him build the mask. I like that he's a little humanized with the bad knee.
Yeah.
I like the Walkman. I like when his uncle or his cousin, whoever the fuck it is, right? It's kind of these inbreeding rules.
Yeah.
He throws it in the oven because he didn't get Bradley, Bubba. What's the guy's name?
Benny?
What's kin for reason? Benny. So he throws the Walkman in and he makes him grab the Walkman not with his hook but with his actual one flesh hand.
Awesome.
And then he goes to Mom. He's like, "Urgh. Do you know how hard it is to get Tom Waits live tapes?" Urgh. And he lays on Mom, and I was like, I dig it. But then he also has the time to sit and take the little girl in and like show love to her. I like it, man, because it is the most affecting part of the first one is when the guys start kind of beating him about the head, and you're like, oh, why is this guy scared of anything?
Yeah.
Then, of course, we get into he still does a thing that I think is one of the worst things I would take out of the Chainsaw Massacres immediately, which is he always has moments where he revs the saw first to let everyone know he's there before just, trying to sneak up on and kill someone to get meat.
Right.
But this one kind of explains that away, that there's this whole other level of psychosis happening.
Right.
So it makes him just revving the chainsaw in her face when he gets the saw his family saw, which is fucking amazing.
Really good.
Such
really
a
cool.
Fucking amazing prop
Great
to add,
prop.
right?
Great prop.
And he's just revving it in her face. And Texas Chainsaw 2, you're like, why is he doing that? Like, I know he's getting sexual pleasure so he can jerk off in the radio station. But it's like the third or fourth time, you're like, not there, not that moment. This one, when he's revving it at her, it's almost like, look at this. I like technology now. Look at what science can do.
Yeah.
So it is this weird, because the other guy's like, we got to evolve, mama. We got to evolve with technology. Cannibal technology.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah. And so it is. It's just.
Fucking mom, dude.
Yeah. She's talking like Attitude Era Kane. Brother. No.
Brother.
Yeah, that was cool. I liked it, man. And then I like our lead actress. This is the moment where they're like, hey, are you going to be a part of this movie or not? And she just starts going, rah! And screaming back
Pretty
in
cool.
his face. And I was like, yeah, fuck yeah. Now we're doing a Texas Chainsaw movie. Right? They have the inventive, like, hey, we'll string him up, and we built this fucking hammer to come down and crush the head, because we're not Leatherface and Grandpa. And it's just, now the movie's kind of taking flight.
Yeah.
The problem is, in an 85-minute movie,
I was gonna say,
you kind of
that's the last like
through.
5 minutes of the movie, though.
Well, because Amy was like, man, this movie's long, huh? And I was like, no. I was like, this movie is brisk. Fucking brisk. But it kind of resets like 3 times, and there's not a lot of connected tissue, right? Yeah. But at this point, when Bradley starts, he's spraying the house, we see Grandpa's face get fucking caved in with the dust. They're shooting Mama. You're like, yeah. Okay, fuck yeah, dude. I love this, right?
Now we're here.
And now he's fighting Tex, and it's just, I don't like pizza. I like, people in pain. It's like, yeah, hell yeah, dude. Let's go. And then she's like, come on, you scumbag. You want some? Let's go. And she's like calling Leatherface out. And he's like, hold on, let me fucking secure my knee brace.
Yeah.
It's got to be real anticlimactic if that MCL goes again. And I was like, yeah, let's go. Right? He's lighting Tex on fire. We're in the dead body pond. They're battling in the water. It's like watching Wolfman and Frankenstein as the castle's going down. I was like, yeah, I love this, man. I love this.
Yeah.
There's just not enough of it.
It's just.
Right? She's nailed to a chair. She rips her hands off. You're like, all right, dude.
It's just 10 minutes.
They do. Yeah. It's fun. It's fun while
it's 10 minutes of awesome mayhem, and then you get like this weird sort of postscript mayhem. So that
we forgot that there are a couple weird moments in here, right? Where Leatherface just kills the survival girl, the girl who's been surviving.
Yeah,
just kind of for like no reason, just crushes her neck. You're like, that's pretty shit. If she's made it a week, she should matter to the story. She should be a newt.
Yeah.
We get this weird bit where the mother just talks about how good Leatherface is with puss and peeps, and then her brother's like, that's right.
I thought he was just good at cutting stuff out. That was the whole point.
I think it's the second time we talked about it because it's so weird. I think our brains are still processing it.
It's so strange. Or is actually, now that you're saying this though, like, is she talking about, is this more inbreeding?
Well, she makes Leatherface like give him a smile. They're talking about how he's been out of control lately, and so it felt a little like, because they specifically say, here, I wrote it down. Junior makes the sweetest damn babies. He loves them private parts. Right? And then she goes, Leatherface cut out my privates years ago. Took Papa's too. So there is a weird like hysterectomy delicacy thing about them.
I'll be honest with you. I'm not sure how much I want to examine this.
They specifically say Junior makes the sweetest damn babies, which I'm guessing that is his daughter.
Yeah,
and then he's franchising out the gigantic behemoth cannibal role.
Right. With the bad knee. Yeah, I think it makes sense.
It's that's a lot. Yeah, like you're not going to be able to keep chainsawing for your whole life. We the weight of the chainsaw, right? Saw his family, the weight of carrying a family line. Oh my God, the symbolism's amazing.
Awesome.
But
yeah,
there's even a scene in here though where like Leatherface stops and he's like looking at him. He's just taking himself in a mirror, doing his lessons. I was like, there's something in that segment while clunky, right? I will call this the joyride into the running to the house segment, right? The first 70% of the movie. It's so clunky and disjointed, but there are moments of pause where I really like what they're doing. Not that I like thinking about Leatherface just slinging dong, but it's interesting.
Still not bad.
It's interesting, right? Like there are some ideas formulating, and that's what a franchise is supposed to do. Show you some more of what you like and give you some extra things to think about and build upon.
Agreed.
So they're doing pretty good at that, right? You know, and then it kind of descends again, right? We do Chekhov's Zippo.
Yeah. Damn it, you beat me to it. I was going to say
the
Chekhov's
Saul's
Zippo.
like floating around the lake, and Bradley gets cut with it, but then he's fine.
He's fine.
He has an open chainsaw wound. He's definitely dying of sepsis, no doubt about it.
1,000%. We have like the final denouement at the truck, like last chance truck, last chance gas pulls up. It's Benny, but somehow the other guy who wanted to have sex with this lady from the beginning made it to them on foot.
I think he was in the truck.
Was he in the truck? Couldn't tell.
My guess is he was a stowaway. She blows him away. You're like, thank God.
Yeah, just put this guy.
We
out
don't
of his
need
misery.
any more. Like that character, we can get rid of for the rest of Texas Chainsaw. And then they're like, wait till you see part 4, and you're like, no. Part 4 is a whole different animal. We'll have to talk about that tomorrow. We do this moment where she's afraid to smash the armadillo at the start of the movie.
Yeah,
which the invitation does the exact same beat, which I think is funny. And then at the end, she's like, well, now I have no hesitation. I'm willing to fucking smash Leatherface. The saw sinks down. It was solid. It was solid. It was a solid final little fun and games Scooby-Doo segment, right? Like, it worked out pretty well. And then, at the end, right, there's roadkill all over Texas.
Yeah.
And then Leatherface and the Saul step in. Maybe it's another Leatherface. Maybe they all
have bad knees.
Maybe he's the spirit of America herself fighting back against this technological world.
Gets these hippies.
Who knows? But yeah, that's what I would say, man. There's a lot of shit that's very clunky. And again, the narrative really has no fucking reasoning behind it. Like why we're doing this other than we want to go back to a Sawyer house. But what this one is asked to do is a very basic and simple job. Reset the foundations of what a Texas Chainsaw movie should and can be. I love what they did with Leatherface in this one. I fucking love it.
Yeah.
The Saw is amazing. The cast is really fucking good.
Mm-hmm.
Right? The base level horror stuff they do really well.
Yeah.
So even while it's not, there's no streamlinedness to the narrative. There's nothing this one has to say. But it's doing the basic job it was asked, which is give us Leatherface back in a way that's closer to what we loved in the first one and expand a little. I think it did a pretty solid job, man. I like the idea of Leatherface's daughter stabbing that girl with the bone knife, right? Like she's already brought into it, right? There's some good stuff in this one. This is what I'd say. This is the kind of middling, basic, fine sequel, right? And I think as we've covered so many horror franchises now, I think you're very impressed upon how many of them are not good, but their crime is that they're boring and they're not trying to say anything.
It's not that it's not good.
This one is borderline boring and reductive.
Yeah.
Like it's just repetitive.
But
it does everything well enough.
There's flavors
right?
in there that are really worth watching. That's what I'll say.
Right. So I think that the like focusing on like the little extras with Leatherface and the daughter and whatever, that keeps it from falling into that just boring rehash.
Right.
And again, I think the acting in this one is exceptional for the series, right? Like I really like this Leatherface. I think this is a strong entry compared to many others in the franchise. I like it quite a bit, man. That's it for Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3 Leatherface. Leatherface. I hope you enjoyed it as much as we did. Guys, we hope you're enjoying the start of the Horror Mega Marathon. We got a fucking long way to go till we hit the bottom of the abyss on October 31. So I hope you guys are with us. We have 29 more episodes. That's my internal calculator when I do awesome math right off the noodle. Off the dome, 29. It's not that cool. It's 31 minus 2. But we got 29 more episodes for you. If you want to make sure to have all 29 of those, go to patreon.com/filmalchemistpod. Get the Patreon exclusives that our patrons were able to vote on. Get the movies they wanted us to talk about. We got a commentary coming for you. We have incredible guests for you. We're doing all of Texas Chainsaw, all of Phantasm. We're finishing out Scream 5 and 6. We've got so much awesome shit for you. This is the greatest time of the year, and we are ecstatic. So for the Film Alchemist, I'm Josh Griffey.
I'm Alex Dandino.
We'll see you tomorrow.
And get that knee looked at.